Peace, Love, Liberty Radio version 4.0. Prepare for launch.
OTC is go.
Packetbus is go.
PTC is go.
FPS is go.
Houston flight is go.
Pilot go.
STM is go.
Safety comms is go.
STU is go.
LRD is go. SRO is go.
CDR is go.
Launch director, NTD, our launch team is ready to proceed at this time.
99, proceeded, 3, 2, 1, ignition. Right away, Houston.
Consequences so severe, so pull your trigger quickly, dear. Our patriots are acting up, let's punish them with fear. Hey, hey!
Hey, it's Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. This is version 4.0, launching into outer space. Well, not really outer space, because I don't have a rocket ship, but, you know, it's version 4.0. So we're doing things different than we did in the first 299 episodes. So I've got a couple of stories here on sort of self-help sort of stuff. The first one that I'm delving into is setting goals to break life's monotony. It comes from the website archetypes.com. They say, have you ever gotten so wrapped up in routine that you did not even realize how boring your life had become? You wake up, go to work, come home, eat, watch TV, sleep, then wake up and do it all over again the next day. The vicious cycle can ultimately make you feel like a hamster on a wheel, constantly moving but never going anywhere. This often happens when you lose sight of life's goals, when your obligations in life become so demanding that you no longer even know what your purpose is. If you've noticed this happening, hit the pause button and figure out what you really want in life. Stay conscious of these goals at all times, and you'll find yourself living every day of your life rather than simply going through the motions. And I have to say that sometimes, even when you do have goals, you find yourself sort of going through the motions of trying to reach that goal. And I realize that might not sound like it makes a lot of sense, but let me sort of explain what I'm talking about. So I've got certain goals that I'm working on, and some of them are, well, actually most of them are work related. So, like I'm going through, not necessarily just going through the motions to get things done, but that there are times when life sort of seems monotonous, even though I have goals and things that I'm striving for. It does at times seem like I'm just going through the motions to, well, this is what I've got to do to try to reach the goal. And yeah, so I'm sort of, presenting this as much for me as for anyone else. So what do they say? What are the steps to sort of break the monotony of life, other than just set goals and try to reach those? Because, again, sometimes, that can be tedious as well. Focus on the present. When you're stuck in a boring routine, it can be hard to recognize the importance of the here and now. If you hate your job, you most likely look forward to the 5 o'clock bell every day, especially on Friday. When you spend your downtime mentally and physically preparing yourself for the next day, only for your morning alarm to sneak up on you faster than seems possible. When you start focusing on your life's goals, you'll understand that the best time to get moving forward, or rather get moving towards them, is right now. Instead of becoming complacent, you'll start seeing every moment as the perfect time to excel. Even the smallest step in the right direction is better than sitting around and waiting for something good to happen. Now, there was a podcast I was listening to a few days ago when I was either driving to or driving back from the airport. I forget which one. But they were talking about various goals, and the one guy had visited every country in the world, and he was talking about that and how it took him a long time. And once he finished, like he had reached his goal, and then it was, okay, so now what do I do? Because he had spent so much of his time trying to reach that one goal that he then did not know what to do with himself after. So you do need like a grander goal than just here's a bunch of tasks that I want to complete. And I'm not saying that, you shouldn't have goals that have tasks to them, but there should be like a greater purpose, a greater mission to life than just, I want to do these things. And, so you have to sort of focus on the future as well as the present. And that's the next thing on here is focus on improving the future. When you've gotten so caught up in the rat race, the only future you really look forward to are the times when you can sit down and relax. Sure, we all need time to recharge, but when this is all you do with your downtime, you end up wasting an increasingly large portion of your life. Any time you spend not working towards bettering yourself is time spent digging yourself deeper into a rut. When you set goals for your life, outside of the pay the bills and survive, you'll start taking advantage of any free time you can find, knowing that your efforts will lead to a better tomorrow. You have something to work towards and actually want to put in effort needed to succeed instead of seeing life as a vicious cycle. You'll start seeing your efforts as a way out. And that's a way out of the rut, not a way out of life. And so how do you wind up setting goals that are greater than work-related, greater than I want to do X with my job, or I want to do Y with my small business, or I want to do X and Y with this because money? Well, you need to expand your interest and your comfort zone, which is the next thing they write here. How many adults out there have given up on their passions and hobbies due to a lack of energy and time? Not only are we sometimes forced to give up old hobbies, but many adults never even picked up anything new either. Whether we use the excuse that we don't have the time or we think it's too late to find a new passion, our excuses become a self-fulfilling prophecy, and we doom ourselves to a lifetime of boredom and monotony. On the other hand, those who have set goals for themselves actively seek out new hobbies and interests. They're much more open to new ideas and suggestions, even ones they had never thought they'd be interested in before. When they try something new, they do so with the idea of improving their set of skills in some way, knowing their new interest could lead them down a path in life they never would have known existed before. And in just a moment, I'll tell you about expanding comfort zones, and we'll continue that discussion as well as reasons to work smarter, not harder, here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Coinbase is a simple and secure online Bitcoin wallet for sending, receiving, and storing Bitcoin. Coinbase also allows you to buy and sell Bitcoin using a bank account or use their tools to accept Bitcoin as a merchant. Coinbase has more than 1 million consumer wallets and is trusted by over 25,000 merchants, including Overstock.com, Khan Academy, Reddit, and of course, FPP. Get started at coinbase.fppradio.com. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and Numery supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $3 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
So before I get back into discussing ways that setting goals can break the monotony of life, specifically by expanding your comfort zone, I want to make sure that I tell you about the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and Numery supporters, and you can join the Fans program for as little as $3 per month over at Patreon. Just go to fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com. And then also, the Fans program running through Patreon makes it easier for me to wind up giving you perks like ad-free versions of this podcast, Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, as well as ad-free versions of the daily newscast, FPP Radio News. Yes, I do that 7 days a week, and I'm coming up on episode 800. That should be, I believe, the end of the week, episode 800 of the daily FPP Radio News. You can get that ad-free as well as this. Well, the live reads are still in, but the other ads that happen during the breaks, when the music goes and then comes back, there's ads that go in there on the regular versions. You can get it without those ads. Head over to the fans program or the website for the fans program, fans.fppradio.com. Sign up, and of course, there are more perks than just the ad-free content. So again, fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com. And speaking of goals, I do have goals for the fans program, one of which includes me doing this show 5 days a week instead of just 3 days a week. So if you want to have more content, then definitely donate, fans.fppradio.com. So talking about goals and having goals to break monotony of life, let me go through here the first couple of things that they say. Focus on the present. Focus on improving the future. Expand your interest. Expand your comfort zone. One of the main reasons people get stuck in monotonous ruts is because they prefer comfort over excitement. Coming home and turning on the TV is much easier than taking a night class or practicing an instrument, right? It's easier, but it's definitely not as fulfilling. It's nice to be comfortable once in a while, but do you really want to live your life in your comfort, or rather on the comfort of your couch? Goal setters are always looking for something new and exciting to experience. They're not afraid of failing, which makes it much easier for them to step outside of their comfort zone. They understand that you have to put yourself out there if you ever want to improve your life. And they understand that the pleasure derived from experiencing something new is much more fulfilling than the comfort their TV gives them. And one thing that I find very interesting is most of the people that I associate with do not actually own a television. Or if they do own a television set, it's not hooked up to cable or satellite. So the only TV they watch is, like YouTube videos or movies that they might have that, they'll watch on DVD, or movies that they have otherwise obtained, not always things that have been obtained through legal channels. But, it's really interesting that most of the people, and I would say that most of the people that I associate with, they're interesting individuals that aren't living in, a rut or a comfort zone per se. That's not to say that, they're not comfortable with their life, but there's a huge difference between a comfort zone and being comfortable doing new things and, like trying new stuff. The article here from Archetypes concludes, gives you purpose. As intelligent beings, we are not meant to live every day of our lives on autopilot. But when we get caught up in the monotonous cycle of a daily routine, we start to lose our sense of autonomy and become more like worker ants than human beings. While we should always be working towards the advancement of humanity in our own way, we should never end up doing so at the expense of our own visceral experience. When you've set goals for yourself, you're 100% confident in your purpose on this planet. You know that you have the power to improve your life and the world around you every day of your life. While people who never set goals for themselves sometimes stop and wonder, what's the point? Those with goals always have an answer to that question. And I would say, again, generally, people that have goals generally have an answer to that question. But when, fulfilling the goals or meeting the goals becomes who you are, then, have you really, lost who you are? Are you the goals that you set? And that's an interesting question, and it's not one that I can necessarily answer. Again, I'll point to the conversation that I was hearing on a podcast a few days ago where the guy was talking about he had set this goal to visit every country in the world. And when he finished, he just sort of sat there for a minute and said, okay, now what? I did this thing. It took me 10 years and a lot of money, and I did this thing, so now what do I do with my life? So he had goals. The guy definitely had goals, and then he met his goals and then sort of had lost the meaning of life because he had spent so much time trying to fulfill the goal that basically he became the goal. And it's one of those things of you've got to have this balance of, yes, you need goals to encourage you to continue doing whatever it is that you're doing to get out of that rut, but at the same time, don't allow yourself to become, or the entire purpose of your life to become fulfilling that goal. The goal should be something that encourages you to be a better person, and I would dare say that if you are going to allow your goals to define who you are as a person, have such a grand goal that it's something that you could only wind up accomplishing on your final day on Earth. And I realize that might sound sort of macabre, but I'm having one of those days, if you will, and I don't want to get into it because, as they say, this too shall pass. Now, let me jump into the other article that I have also from archetypes.com. 3 reasons working smarter is better than working harder. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. They always say work smarter, not harder. Well, I'll tell you why that's the case. But stay tuned. There's more here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. During the 2013 Porcupine Freedom Festival, Davi Barker presented an idea for a renegade psychological experiment. Since then, he has refined his idea and put his plan and research into writing. He explains, "We aim to show the world beyond a shadow of a doubt that power corrupts absolutely and corrupt authority deserves no obedience." Authoritarian Sociopathy is available from Amazon.com, all major bookstores, and now available as an audiobook. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
Are you an advocate for free market money? Do you promote Bitcoin as an alternative in a fiat-centric world? Then you need Spend-A-Bit in your arsenal. Spend-A-Bit is the search engine for things you can buy with Bitcoin. Spend-A-Bit aggregates millions of products from thousands of Bitcoin-enabled merchants. Keep your money in the free economy. Spend a bit. Use my affiliate link, spendabit.fppradio.com. And if you're a Bitcoin-accepting merchant like I am, ask about their merchant suite to reach even more customers. Spendabit.fppradio.com. That's spendabit.fppradio.com. So you've heard the saying, work smarter, not harder. Maybe you've even rolled your eyes when your supervisor made a suggestion without adding any sort of context as to what he meant by it. Without an explanation behind it, telling someone to work smarter, not harder is just another meaningless buzz phrase that bosses use when they really only mean one thing: get more work done. But there is definitely some validity to the statement. Think of the many famous billionaires in the world. Do you think they work thousands of times harder than you? They don't. They have no more energy or time necessarily than anyone else. They definitely don't have more time, but they might have more energy. But the reason they're so successful in their endeavors is because they know the importance of staying cognizant of how they spend their time on the clock, and they do everything in their power to get the most out of every waking moment. On focusing, working harder, multitasking. We live in an incredibly busy world. Our attention is constantly being pulled every which way by social media, email, text messages, and of course, our bosses. Even if you are your own boss, and if you're anything like me, you might be a harsher boss on yourself than any boss you've ever actually had. We've been conditioned, the article writes, to believe that if we're not working on 5 different tasks at once, we're not working hard enough. We often fail to realize that working hard and accomplishing goals are not synonymous. In fact, there really is no such thing as multitasking. When most people say they're great at multitasking, what they mean is they often switch from one task to another seamlessly, or so they think. The truth is, when you stop focusing on one task in favor of another, it will take around 20 to 25 minutes to regain the focus you had built up towards the initial task. In other words, you'll spend 20 minutes not working to your highest capacity, and it will ultimately take you longer to get work done. Working smarter, prioritizing, and focusing. So you'll notice the first thing was working harder, multitasking. Point 2 here, working smarter, prioritize, and focus. Instead of multitasking, learn to prioritize each task you need to complete and focus on doing so until you either get it done or you need a break. It's usually best to get the little things out of the way first before tackling the much larger projects on your to-do list. Take 10 minutes in the morning to respond to emails, return voice messages, and complete any other routine house cleaning that needs to be done. Once you've completed these more menial tasks, turn off your email and text message notifications. Your mind will then be free to focus on the more in-depth projects you need to work on throughout the rest of your day. When working on these larger projects, make sure to take a break every once in a while. Studies have shown that a 17-minute break after 52 minutes of work maximizes your potential maximizes your potential in terms of focus and ability to perform. During the 17-minute break time, do all the small things that take less than 5 minutes to do, such as check your email and respond to text. This way, you alleviate your mind of all the little things piling up, and you avoid breaking your concentration to answer a text that'll take 2 seconds, but set you back another 20 minutes in terms of focus. On being overwhelmed, working harder is taking on too much. Working smarter is saying no. Whether it's to prove our worth or impress our boss, sometimes we take on too much responsibility and end up being overwhelmed with everything we have to do. We sometimes even fall into the trap of believing that having too much to do is akin to a badge of honor or crown of thorns. The truth is, the amount and quality of recognition you receive for your hard work will never be worth the effort you put into it. Your boss may or may not notice that you're the first to get into the office in the morning and the last to leave. And even if he does, he likely only cares about whether or not you get your job done, not how long you spend doing it. In fact, he might actually be turned off by the fact that you have to stay late to complete work that he believes should not take that long, leading him to believe that you're wasting time when you're actually on the clock. Whether or not you actually are is irrelevant. It's not in how hard you work, but in how your supervisors, or rather, it's not how hard you work, but in how your supervisor perceives how hard you work, and that will move you forward in your career. There is absolutely no point in taking on too many responsibilities if you're not going to be able to put your all into each of them. Instead, you should only take on as much as you can handle while still functioning at maximum capacity. You might think saying no when your boss asks you to do something should immediately turn him off, and you'd probably be right, but there are ways you can do so that actually make you appear more responsible. For instance, if your boss asks you to do something but you're currently working on a major project, Ask him which is a higher priority. Or if the task he comes to you with is fairly menial, explain to him that you'll do it, but it'll mean taking time away from working on the larger task. Yes, there's always a chance that your boss won't care either way, in which case logic won't exactly work. But at least you can do your best to minimize the chances of taking on too much. Here's just a little bit more left, and I'll get to it in moments.
Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT No Gov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to BIPCOT.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.
Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com.
Hi, I'm the Rebel Mistress.
And this is Rob Mathias, host of the Rebel Love Show.
And you're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
With Darryl W. Perry.
Hey, and in these final moments here, I'm going to go through point number 3 on working smarter, not harder. First point is focusing. Working harder means multitasking. Working smarter means prioritizing and focusing. On being overwhelmed, working harder means taking on too much. Working smarter means learning how to say no. On living right, working harder means being obsessed with work. Working smarter means having a work-life balance. And if I don't wind up getting through all of this, the link will be in the show notes. You most likely either know someone who considers themselves a workaholic, or you are one yourselves, and I are one myself. These are the people who were involved in a dozen after-school activities throughout high school, worked 2 part-time jobs on the weekend, and still managed to maintain an A average. Not exactly an A, and not, half a dozen activities, but yeah, there was a lot, and I did wind up doing fairly well. As adults, these are the people who neglect everything else because they have to they have too much work to do. In truth, they most likely have as much work to do as the rest of us. For whatever reason, though, they feel as if work is the be-all, end-all of their existence. Even when they do have time for recreation and social functionings, they spend most of their time either talking about work or worrying about how much work they have to do. Eventually, this obsession will catch up with them and lead to burnout. It's one thing to be passionate, and now I'm getting into the working smarter portion. It's one thing to be passionate about what you do, but it's a whole different story when you allow your job to become all that matters in your life, and I would say, or your goals or anything else. When you spend all your time working and all your off time thinking about work, you miss out on a lot that life has to offer. Take some time to think about why you work so hard. Do you feel obligated to do so? Do you fear being replaced? Do you feel the need to prove yourself at all times? Be honest with yourself, take a step back, and realize that there's more to life than putting in hours at the office, even if the office is one that you own yourself. When you discover a way to balance your work life and your personal life, you'll end up being much more productive and happy in the long run. So there you have it. That's reasons why working smarter is better than working harder. And don't forget, every Wednesday I answer your questions. Send those over, ama@fppradio.com. And yes, I will answer any questions that you send. ama@fppradio.com. And I do so every Wednesday.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copyright. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas, which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.